Welcome to the Original Titan website, to the Golden Ages, a whole new world. Now, this is a workshop. We will be asking questions for you to ponder. So here we go. Testing your subconscious for Golden Age residue. How do we do that? Well, we do know that our subconscious holds at least 10 million years of information. It's all repressed. In the first mental sphere, first time dimension, we have information known as ANOFs. ANOF engravings and ANOF recordings are not a full movie. So when you get a memory, it may not be a full, complete memory, meaning you know exactly where, when, why, how, and the whole bit. But you may get fragments. How? Through touch, taste, smell, sound, and vision. You might be in a particular location that you've never been in before to your knowledge, yet you feel a certain emotion that comes over you. It feels good. It feels different. It feels familiar. Those are examples of ANOFs. What we want you to do is to ponder that. Be aware of that. It's important that we begin to tap in. What does the Golden Age mean to you personally? You might say, how could it mean anything to me personally? I've never been there. But how do you know? If we're testing our subconscious for those fragments, those bits and pieces, then you know somehow, somewhere deep down in your psyche, in your soul, that there is such a place. We can also think of ancient Kemet with all of the gold that they used. It wasn't for them to have swag or to, look to say, hey, I'm wealthy. No, gold is the highest communicative metal that we know about on this planet. When we think about the Golden Ages, what does that mean to us? What it means to me, it means I can go further into knowing who I am and how far this multidimensional self of mine can go. But what does it mean to you? Now, it is said that humans of the future will be superior beings who have taken under control in every way their nervous systems. Our nervous systems are under attack. Our nervous system, what are we talking about when we say our nervous systems? We have to start with the brain, with the control center there, arteries and cells and everything running like a highway from that medulla oblongata down our spine. And when we're distracted, our nervous systems become distracted. And then that means we put ourselves at risk for bipolarism. We put ourselves at risk for schizophrenia. We put ourselves at risk for a myriad of mind disease, not able to still the mind. But yet we know that there's a better place. And we do have to start preparing for it. It's not something that's going to fall in our lap because we know it is about energy. Can we vibrate fast enough to get on a higher plane? The knowledge book states that we should not waste our electrical energies. We should always concentrate these energies or this energy into our brains. We don't want to clog our brains with that googly gook. We don't want garbage in, garbage out. We want goodness in and goodness out. Why? Because a lot of us have missions that we must begin to perform or to complete if we've already started on this planet. We might feel like we have enough time to do whatever it is that we came to the planet to do, and that's just simply not true. We have to be about our business right now. So clearly, we have a long way to go to qualify as citizens for the Golden Age. However, we can list things, we're talking about habits that we may have that can be done at present. Now, this is going to look different for everyone. For me, I could say that I could stop looking at a lot of YouTube videos. That's how I know what's out there. I can stop looking at these videos before I go to sleep. That disturbs my dreams and subsequent my downloads. If you're doing drugs, smoking marijuana, drinking too much alcohol, these are things that we're not looking down on anybody for, but it happens. And a lot of times we don't realize how much of it that we're doing until it begins to affect our mission work. So how do you see yourself fitting in as a citizen of the golden ages? Let us imagine ourselves there in all of our highest, purest form. We can imagine that. We can stop thinking about all of our faults for a minute and begin to see ourselves as a citizen of the golden ages. Are you a preparer, a scheduler of souls to go to different universes or planets or galaxies to help them in a specific manner? Are you a supervisor of a specific group that helps other planets to align themselves properly with the best beam of information? Are you a healer? Are you, let's just say, an alchemist? List at least 3 things that you can see yourself doing in the golden ages. The old saying, when we get to heaven, gonna put on some shoes and walk all over God's heaven. Is that true? We're in heaven now, whether we realize it or not. But the heaven part has to do with what mind frame, what mindset are we on? What dimension are we living in? So my question is, are we going to be able to walk all over God's heaven? That's just not true. Why? Because we may not be able to vibrate as high all over to God's heaven. There are places that we simply just can't go because we're not vibrating high enough. Okay. Then there are places that you can go that other people can't go because they're just not vibrating high enough. So you see how these old sayings that stick with us when we're children and we learn these songs in Sunday school and then we begin to not realize how much it's affecting our subconscious. And we tend to think, hey, when I get to heaven, I'm not in heaven. That right there is a misnomer. We are in heaven. What part of heaven are we in? Are we in the part where we can get robbed? Yep. Because we have gotten robbed. We have not only gotten robbed, we've got capped. I'm talking about our DNA. Our DNA has gotten capped by these demiurges out here. Okay? That want to take over, that want to be God, the one and only, the almighty absolute. And that's not going to happen. But a lot of people don't know that. So they feel subservient by saying, when I get to heaven, I'm going to walk all over God's heaven. No, no. You're in heaven. So why am I bringing this up? Because our state of mind must change. That's the whole reason for this question. Our state of mind must change. Think of it as a big old building with a whole lot of rooms. That whole building is heaven. But what room are you in? Are you at the top floor? Because that's like never ending. It's stairs just going into infinity. So where are you? Are you at the bottom in the basement? You're still in heaven, but what part? You get what I'm saying? So our job is to be mindful of our location. And of course, we can be mindful when we look at the matrices as we begin to study the hollow mind perceiver. So what role do you see yourself fulfilling in the heavens? What room are you in? Journal it. Next, what we want to do is describe living in the golden ages from our soul's perspective now. Not from answering the question of what you want to be doing, not from the perspective of what your role is or what you would like your role to be. But let's describe it now from your soul's perspective. To put yourself inside of that golden age right now. What all is gold? Do you live in a gold house? Are you drinking golden water? Is your skin golden? Is the food that you eat a form of gold? Not so much the gold as we see it here on planet Earth, but a more purified, more malleable gold. Describe it from your soul's perspective. How do you feel? Where do you live? What is it that you enjoy? What is your relationship with your neighbors? And your neighbors now can include other planets. Not just your block, not just your community, not just your city, state, or anything of that nature, or even just your planet. but other planets, other galaxies. What is the relationship? Describe it. Take the time to describe it. Why not? It's not living in a fantasy. It's actually bringing forth the golden age layout, the foundations for it now. Because we see what's happening in the world and how all of the madness is playing out. It must finish. And when it does, we would have already laid the groundwork for the golden ages. And where does that come from? It comes from heaven, which is our mind. It will come out of our mind, out of our inner world, into the outer world. But we must not think the same way that we do in the basement right now, where we are on earth, in heaven. Okay? We must leave ego out now. Ego will not have a place in the golden ages. But let us understand a little bit more of what that is. Ego. Why is ego always looked upon as negative? Why do we have ego? And are we defining it correctly? According to the knowledge book, ego is a power that conducts the world potential. If you don't have ego, you cannot conduct your potential in the world. Your desires to accomplish what you will in the world. When we look at what has been accomplished in the world, we can say that it was driven by ego. Without ego, we wouldn't want to accomplish much. We have music, we have the instruments to play that music, we have cars, transportation, vehicles, we have clothes, shoes, food. Ego played a role in all of that. Ego helps us to get up out of bed to accomplish something, to do something, to want something, and to go after that something. So why is ego having a bad rap? Worldly consciousness, world potential, drives the human away from divine consciousness. Think about that. When we're in the workplace, when we're conducting business in the artificial matrix, no one's bringing up, I'm talking about the capitalists. They're not promoting spirituality, divine consciousness, because those are world potential, world consciousness constructs. And that's where the ego resides. But we want divine consciousness as well. We want a balance. Why? Because now we see the world changing. And we are now set to lay the foundation of the golden ages, which means that the ego can no longer have so much power and control, because world potential or worldly consciousness is now changing into spiritual and divine consciousness, because that's the road that the rest of the entities, beings, living beings, neighboring galaxies are using. They're using the science. We must too use the science. We can convince our ego to use the science in our divine consciousness. That's going to take some work because we're not used to it. In your imagination, you are setting the stage for divine consciousness in the whole world, in schools, in the workplace, for the earth, the new ascended earth, to communicate with higher entities, to build, to have, to experience, to know divine consciousness. And you have tamed the ego to allow it to happen. What a wonderful concept. Ashe, Ashe, Ashe.